WrestleMania 10, WrestleMania 10. What is there to say about WrestleMania 10? It wasn't quite as bad as WrestleMania 9, but maybe it was.
You're watching So Awkward. This is Freddy Krueger saying hi.
WrestleMania 10, March 20th, 1994 in Madison Square Garden, where they held the original WrestleMania. So the 10-year anniversary, they brought it back to New York City to Madison Square Garden. I was actually really looking forward to WrestleMania 10. I think this was the first WrestleMania I didn't watch live on pay-per-view, at least since I started watching with WrestleMania 3 back when I was a kid. So I was excited to see this one because there's a few now classic matches that show up, you know, on best of lists and are on a bunch of DVDs I have. But it was kind of a dud. There were 2, maybe 3 great matches, but the rest were just bad. They opened with America the Beautiful by Little Richard, and it was awesome. One of the best opening songs in WrestleMania history. This one's going to be a hard one to beat. It was just a lot of fun. It was great. You should check it out. Commentary by Vince McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler, making his WrestleMania debut. I love Jerry Lawler. He's great. Great wrestler. Even better commentator. WrestleMania 10, I should mention this, is interesting as the first ever WrestleMania with no Hulk Hogan. It had to happen sooner or later. It's a pretty good run. So WrestleMania 10 opens with an amazing match. Owen Hart versus his brother Bret Hart. 2 of my all-time favorite wrestlers. Just two of the best. 2 icons of the sport. Just the chemistry between them is so good. They're both such great technical wrestlers. I love this one. Great way to open the WrestleMania. An enduring classic WrestleMania match. One of my all-time favorites. Owen Hart takes the win. Right after that, after one of the greatest matches in WrestleMania history, they go to a promo with Cy Sperling. Anybody remember Cy Sperling? He gave Howard Finkel a toupee. Then we went to a mixed tag team match. Bam Bam Bigelow and Luna Vachon versus Doink and Dink. So it was Bam Bam Bigelow and a woman, a female wrestler, versus Doink the evil clown. And Dink, who is a little person version of Doink. Let's just move past this one. Bam Bam and Luna won. Then we have a Falls Count Anywhere match with the Macho Man, Randy Savage, versus Crush. Remember when the Macho Man lost his retirement match at some previous WrestleMania? Well, he's back. I wrote down in my notes, too high concept, comma, dumb. The concept was you could fight and pin the guy anywhere, but if you pinned somebody out of the ring, the person who was pinned had a minute or 30 seconds or something to get back to the ring. Too complicated. Too high concept. Too much. Also, it was boring and stupid. Sorry, Macho Man. I love you. Rest in peace. But this was not one of your better matches. Next up was the Women's Championship on the line. Leilani Kai versus Alundra Blaze. This was probably the first decent women's wrestling match so far in WrestleMania history. So far they've been kind of lame, but this one was okay. These were both pretty decent wrestlers. Then we had the tag titles on the line. Men on a Mission, remember them? Versus the Quebecers. I have no notes on this one, and I don't even mention who won or who was champion. Yeah. That must have been a great match. Next up, we go to the first of 2 heavyweight title defenses. A little backstory, I guess. Before WrestleMania was the Royal Rumble, and whoever wins the Royal Rumble gets to main event WrestleMania for the title. But that year's Royal Rumble, there was some weird upset where both Lex Luger and Bret Hart both went over the top rope and their feet landed on the ground at the same time, so they both tied to win the Royal Rumble. So they are both getting a title shot against Yokozuna. Lex Luger's comes first. I wrote down bad. Real bad. Yoko won. Yoko is a good wrestler when he has a good opponent. and I think the same is true of Lex Luger. But when you put both of them together, just you see all of their faults instead of their strengths. Not a good match. Next up was Earthquake versus a guy named Adam Bomb. Not a good match. Then we have an all-time classic, tied with the Owen Hart Bret Hart match for the match of the night. The Intercontinental title was on the line in the first ever at WrestleMania ladder match. Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon. This was the first ladder match that I think most people had seen. This was the one that really popularized the whole concept. Now ladder matches are kind of almost even cliche at this point. There are whole pay-per-views built around ladder matches. But this was, for all intents and purposes, the first. And it's still one of the best. This was just great. It was so much fun. It was so exciting. It was such a novel concept. But even if you took the ladder away, this would have been a great match just because Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon are that good. This was a lot of fun. And they put on a real great show. Razor Ramon, Intercontinental Champion. And that brings us to the second championship match, Yokozuna defending against Bret Hart. This was an okay match. Because Bret Hart always has good matches and he always brings out the best in his opponent. I do think the first half of the Bret Hart Yokozuna match from WrestleMania 9 I think was a little stronger than this one. But this one was okay. It definitely had a great finish, and especially the fanfare at the end where Bret won the title again, and just everybody came out to congratulate him, and they went crazy. Everybody from the backstage came out and they hoisted him up. And then Owen Hart came out, his brother, who's always been jealous of him, and just looked and just like shook his head and was mad, and he went back. But for the most part, WrestleMania 10 was a dud. It was a bunch of boring, lackluster matches by a bunch of wrestlers that I don't even remember. But 2.5 great matches. The Hart Brothers, the ladder match, and Bret Yokozuna was okay. But for the most part, really not that much to see here. And for the 10th anniversary, they could have done a lot better. The celebrity guests this time were like Jenny Garth, I think was there, Burt Reynolds, Rhonda Shearer from USA Up All Night. Does anybody remember USA Up All Night? Thanks for watching, everybody. Comment down below with your thoughts on WrestleMania 10, and I'll see you next Wednesday. I don't have a funny bit for the ending. Sorry. I didn't have a funny bit for the intro, and I didn't have anything interesting to say during the middle. I think we're in for a streak of kind of mediocre WrestleManias.